Am I the asshole for telling my mom she was an unwanted guest? My wife has had a stressful time at work and was looking forward to a vacation at her grandparents' cabin. She brought a few books she wanted to read and I brought my fishing rod. She had no plans to entertain. My dad stopped by to go fishing. It was supposed to be just my dad stopping by for the day, but somehow my mom inserted herself and I was shocked to see her. My wife had no plans to entertain her. I told my mom that. My mom bought stuff for lunch and dinner and tried to engage my wife into making dinner for us all, and my wife said no. She's relaxing and reading. If my mom wanted to cook, that's my mom's prerogative. My dad and I get back late and at the table my mom started to complain how she did this all herself. I looked at my wife who just took her plate and ate in her room. My mom started to complain to me about it and I told my mom she technically wasn't invited and my wife had no expectations to entertain her in my wife's cabin while my wife is on vacation. My mom started saying well she wouldn't have came if she knew that. I told my mom next time take the hint. If you aren't invited don't come. My parents left after dinner. My mom complained that my wife should have tried to be a gracious hostess and I said maybe my mom should try not being an unwanted guest. Congrats to your wife for actually prioritizing her wants and not succumbing to the pressure to entertain and host. Info. So you invited your dad, but not your mom? How did that conversation go down? Could your dad have reasonably gotten the impression they were both invited? Was your dad invited for dinner? Edit. Not the asshole, but in future it's on you to maintain boundaries with your mother. Once your mom showed up, you needed to make it clear to her that your wife wasn't there to entertain her. By leaving your wife to deal with your mom you added to the awkwardness of the situation. Your mom is a bigger asshole for just showing up uninvited because your dad was there. But irrespective of that, you should have done more to preserve your wife's peace before leaving with your dad. Edit to clarify. I'm only judging Op and his mom. I don't think wife or dad did anything to contribute to the judgment. Everyone sucks here except your wife. You invited your dad, he brought your mom, and you left your wife to deal with her. You should have brought your mom fishing or sent both parents home. Not the asshole, next time don't ask your dad to come either. Not the asshole. Your mom was presumptuous, entitled, demanding and was told so. Mom needs to get over it and learn how to read the situation a little better. Better yet, she should apologize. Am I the asshole for not staying home from my Eras tour stop because my SIL's mom died? I am currently on my flight to Indianapolis to see the Eras tour on Saturday. I bought tickets last year and have been booked and ready with my outfit, friendship bracelets, etc. I have been looking forward to this so much as someone who has been a fan since Red. My sister-in-law Grace told the family last night that her mom died. This is truly heartbreaking. I lost my dad when I was 20, so I do understand. I went over after work to be with them and also did their laundry for them and fixed them dinner. Before I left I prepared a bunch of wraps to eat and some casserole as well. I was there until 2 a.m. and have barely slept. I got a call this morning from Grace asking if I could come over and spend the morning with her. I told her that unfortunately I had a few things I had to do before I could leave for my concert. She got very quiet and asked me if I was still going to that. I told her yes, I leave in 5 hours for the airport. She said that she couldn't believe I could still think about a concert when she has just become an orphan with no one in the world but our family, which is true. I told her that I am so sorry, and that when I get back I will take off a few days to be with her if she needs. But that this is something I have been looking forward to, and also my friends coming with me are counting on me for things like the hotel, rental car, etc. She got angry and told me that I was a horrible sister-in-law and that she hopes when my mom dies, everyone abandons me, too. I know this is the shock and grief talking, so I am truly not mad at her. When my dad died I said some pretty chaotic things too. But as I'm sitting on this flight I feel so bad. I did everything I could think of before leaving to make the day-to-day banalities of life a little easier for them. There won't be a funeral, so there's no real big planning involved. Am I the asshole for still going on this trip despite my sister-in-law really not having a lot of other people to be there for her? Info. Is this your sibling's spouse or your spouse's sibling? And in either case, why isn't your sibling or your spouse stepping up to support her? Not the asshole her wishing your mom dies and everyone leaves you, crosses the line. Especially when she's your brother's wife and not yours. She's toxic. You put yourself out to help her quite a bit before you resumed your own life. You offered to take time off and help her again when you get back. I'm starting to understand why she does not have many friends. Grief is painful, but it does not absolve her from being courteous. Not the asshole. No. Go to the concert. You helped her, but you've had these plans for a year. Don't feel guilt. I'm sorry her mom died, but sounds like she has some issues of her own causing people not to want to be around her. Not the asshole. Is she always a bit self-centered? Not the asshole. She's got her husband, I assume your brother, and her mother-in-law to comfort her, at least. Her grief is not your responsibility. Enjoy eras. Am I the asshole for refusing to allow my ex access to money I saved for our son? My ex and I, both 30, share a 12-year-old son. We broke up when our son was 4 weeks old. We shared physical custody from the time he was 14 months and I had visitation prior, as is standard because our son was breastfed. And when our son was 4 my ex remarried. My ex now has 4 additional children with her husband. And this is where her wish for access to that money comes from. I saved for my son and set up an account that only I can access for right now. My was never a part of this, so I never added her to the account. I also have it protected should anything happen to me, and my ex won't take control of it. One of my ex's children was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer. Their household has seen a lot of changes and my son has struggled with those changes. I pick up the difference where I can. So my son still goes to his activities, paid for by me. I put extra in his lunch account at school so he can always get a school lunch, his preference over a packed lunch from home. And I went a little bigger for Christmas, which I always start buying early. My son always knew I saved for his future. He mentioned it to his mom after his mom said they were pulling all finances on their end, including anything put aside for the futures of him and his half-siblings. This brought my ex to me and she asked how much I saved, which I refused to tell her. She asked me for access to the account and I said no. She suggested I should give it to her so it can go toward funding all the help they need to cover the cost of a sick child, and I refused. My ex tried to get our son involved and my son told me he didn't want to keep giving stuff up and he didn't want him to take his money. I promised my son it wouldn't happen. My ex ended up sending me a breakdown of what they want the money for. I did look over it, but only after I told her I would not take our son's money and give it to her for her other child. I told her I had a duty to my son and not her other children. Ex started calling me names, so I ended the call. She then sent me a text asking me how I could say no to helping a child who's sick. I told her that their sick child was not my responsibility and my responsibility is to ensure our son has a good life, the child I made with her, not the children she made with her husband. My son has not had to deal with any of the fallout, so far, hopefully never. But ex has sent several texts since and her husband sent a few of his own. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Have you considered increasing your custody? It sounds like your son is going to be put in the middle and possibly guilt-tripped about this, which could make things awkward at their house, especially with the other siblings. Not the asshole. I can understand that your ex is in a financial difficulty, but to expect you to give the money you saved for your son is outrageous. Not the asshole. Whilst sad, it does not change the fact that the child is not yours and not your responsibility. She wants to be careful that she doesn't end up alienating her other kids with her actions. Not the asshole. I would only communicate through text and email, and if she keeps harassing you about money, I'd take those texts to a lawyer. Instead of robbing her kids and harassing you for money, she should be applying for charities and government assistance. There are tons of programs specifically for these situations. She's absolutely going to alienate all her other kids this way though. Personally, I'd send her the definition of glass child and tell her to look up stories on Reddit from people that grew up in the same situation. Most of the time they end up hating and resenting their parents and the sick sibling. Instruct your son to not discuss this account with his mom or stepfather. Involving a child in these discussions and trying to put a guilt trip on him is criminal. I understand that St. Jude's Hospital treats children with cancer for free. Why isn't she pursuing that avenue? Keep everything as proof, print off screenshots, dates, because they're going to go off the rails soon, bet on it. Use this in your favor. Concentrate on your kid and ignore the ex. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for locking my door to keep my stepbrother out? I know what this sounds like, but there's no better way to put it. I, 19F, have known my stepbrother, 27M, for about 15 years, but I've never liked him. Honestly, he's never given me a reason to. We both live at home. I'm finishing college, I live in the UK, so this is before university, and he's in school. For more context, he's not working, and as far as I know, he's never had a job. My parents fully support him. He makes me uncomfortable. I've tried to have a sibling-like relationship with him and be polite, but he doesn't give me much reason to. For example, he was the first person to make me feel insecure about myself. As I got older, he started making comments about my body, like, it's because your boobs are big, you're pea-shaped, or, your ass is shaping up. I don't care if he thinks it's a compliment or just a joke. I don't like it when people comment on my body. It makes me feel icky, like people are paying more attention to me than I'd like. Maybe he thinks it's okay because we're siblings, but to me, it's just not normal. It's weird because my best friend, who's known him for a long time, doesn't seem to mind similar comments from him, so maybe he thinks we're the same. But what really makes me uncomfortable is that he often comes into my room unannounced, sometimes just standing by the door and staring as a joke, which creeps me out. When I get noticeably upset, he'll say something like, "Geez," as if I should just go along with it. If I ask him to knock or say I want privacy, he questions me and makes insinuations like, "Why? Are you watching porn or something?" Even if I were, why would it matter? I'm 19. Recently, I installed a lock on my door. I'd lost my old key, so I've been without a lock for a while, but his behavior finally pushed me to get one. Now, he has to knock before coming in. He keeps saying it's weird that I'd lock myself in my room during the day, but I only use it when I want privacy, mostly on weekends. Personally, I think it's a lot weirder that a man 10 years older than me has a problem with me wanting alone time. Most of the time, I'm literally just sitting in my room reading. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I don't think I am, but no one else seems to think this is weird. I don't want to insinuate that he's a pervert or whatever, but if the shoe fits. Am I the asshole? Edit. To address some frequent questions and concerns. 1. My parents aren't his biggest fans, to put it lightly, and I was scared to bring it up with them because I didn't want to be the reason they cut him off completely and give him reason to resent me. 2. We didn't really grow up together, seeing as he's been in boarding school since I've known him and went to uni abroad after. He's always had this weird attitude, but I think it was definitely amplified by the fact. 3. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't think he has the guts to take it any further than he has. He knows that it would be the end of him, so safety is not my biggest concern. It's more my right to privacy and the ethics of such creepy behavior. 4. I have expressed my discomfort to him many times. It seems he's getting better, but the fact that it was a conversation I even had to have with him makes me feel really shitty. 5. My friend definitely has issues. I love her regardless, and the one thing I disallow is her closeness with my brother and her comfort with his behavior. She doesn't think it's a big deal, but has never disrespected my own boundaries or insinuated that there's something wrong with me for thinking it is. May I let you in on a secret? When my oldest daughter, 16, closes the door to her room, I always knock before entering. I respect her personal space. It's what civilized people do. Your stepbrother ought to respect your personal space, whether he makes $1 million a year or is a deadbeat. Besides, he sounds like he's on his way to overtly sexually harass you. Emphasize to your parents that what he is doing is invading your personal space. If they don't back you up, it is time to prepare to move out because your household is not safe. Edit. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You're being smart, not an asshole. He's pushing the boundaries of what you'll let him get away with, and otherwise displaying sexual predator traits. Please do not assume that because he's your brother, you're safe to be alone with him. This is weird. This is creepy. And I'm not name calling when I say he is a pervert. At 19, your privacy is so sacred, and no one has the right to infiltrate it or make you feel like you're doing something wrong by wanting it. If you can, talk to him, and if he doesn't change, talk to your parents. Honestly, I go straight to your parents. Not the asshole. I hope you also lock it when you're not there so he can't do creepy things like go through your stuff or, and I hate to mention it, install a camera. He's creepy as hell. I'd keep the door locked at all times, and if your parents aren't willing to listen, I'd try to get out of there as soon as is feasible. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He's weird and making gross comments. I'd lock your door when you are out too. You're not the asshole. He's a creep and a pervert. Trust your gut and keep locking that room. If he says that's weird, say, because a grown man demanding access to a teenager's room isn't weird. Other things you could say. Civilized people knock on doors and wait to be invited in before barging in. What I do in my room is none of your business. Why are so interested in what I do in my room? And if he says it's not a big deal if you're not doing anything, if it's not a big deal, then why ask at all? Why are you insisting on an answer?